Welcome to Tips and Tricks Christmas Edition, December 19th. Today we're going to look at the dynamic date origin, which is the date that decides for all your dynamic filters where they calculate the filter from. Let's go and have a look. Here we are looking at a simple target dashboard with a dynamic filter, say in previous 12 months. You can see it in the criteria bar, and you can also see it on the criteria tab of the SmartPad that we're currently looking at the previous 12 months. Now, this is calculated from the dynamic date origin, which you can see a little bit further down in this criteria tab. The default for dynamic date origin is today, so that would currently be the 16th of December, which is the date I'm recording this. And that means that we're looking at previous 12 months, which would be from December 2020 to November 2021. So if we try simulating, we can try and change this into June, like that. And now we notice the filter changes. So now previous 12 months is calculated from the origin, which would be the 16th of June. And then previous 12 months would be June 2020 to May 2021. So that's the way it works, but this is only available to the designers who have access to the Windows client. What about all the consumers who are using the Anywhere client, the web client? Well, we can go to the criteria bar and right-click, and then we can add dynamic date origin right here. So now it's available also when you open up the browser. You can type in your preferred date, and the filter will be calculated from that date. So that's nice. But maybe it's not too clear. If I change this and my colleague walks by and looks at the numbers, he's going to look me over the shoulder and say those numbers are wrong. So I have to make it a little more obvious that this is not the default date we're calculating from. So I'm going to add a text box in the design ribbon. And in that text box, I'm going to put in a leading text saying filters are calculated from, colon, and then I'm going to add a variable here, a dynamic content piece, system variable called dynamic date origin, and click OK, and maybe go with a bold text to make it very obvious. So now we can place this text box somewhere around here. So now it's quite clear, even if you do a screenshot of this analysis, that this is calculated from the 16th of September. And if we change this now, you notice my text box changes along, so that's very nice. Now, some target users are not too happy with adding this opportunity because it can still be a little confusing. So let's just take it away and see if there are other ways of using this. I've actually done a little pre-work here. Let's move this a little bit out to the right side, and then go to the object list and turn on this menu I've hidden. So this menu is actually used to substitute the data up here and to control a little bit more what they can do with dynamic date origin. Let's examine the menu. So the buttons on the menu, for instance, this one claims to say, okay, if you click this one, the origin will be set to the 1st of April. Now, how is that done? Well, the trigger is the type URL, and most of this URL is a very long, deep link to this particular analysis, actually, the same analysis that we're looking at. But at the end of the link, there's something very important. This is a parameter added to the URL, which actually sets dynamic date origin. So with this parameter, I'm going to open up this analysis, and I'm going to set dynamic date origin to the 1st of April. So that's what I've done here. And of course, this is just repeated in the next steps here. So this one, if we go sideways here, we'll notice that this is set to the 1st of July and so on. So how will this look to the consumer? Let's try and examine that. We'll just save this now that we've made this visible, and then we'll go to the web client and have a look. So here we are in the Anywhere client, the web client, looking at the very same analysis. And notice currently dynamic date origin is today, which is the day I'm recording the video, on the 16th of December 2021. So what happens if I click this one here? Well, it's a URL trigger, and it will actually open up a new tab. And that new tab is calculating from the 1st of April. So it's actually working. So all these will create new tabs. So now I can have calculation from the 1st of July and from the 1st of October. I was thinking sort of the first day of a quarter, so looking back on the previous quarter actually. And finally, I have this button here, and the special thing about this is that there's no parameter. So it just is the same URL, but with no parameters. So if I open up that, well, as you can see, we're back to the 16th of December 2021. So that's an interesting use of this dynamic date origin. Of course, this requires a little maintenance because those dates were from 2021 specifically. So if you go with this idea, you're going to have to maintain this menu a little bit. That was it for today's tip. See you tomorrow on another Tips and Tricks Christmas edition.